To go live. Good morning, brothers and sisters. Happy Sunday. It is a very, very special Sunday because today marks 6 days until I get married, which is wild. Oh, hold on. Let me mute myself. There we go. But I am getting married in like less than a week, which is wild because I've been engaged for almost a year now. So for a good chunk of the church's history here on YouTube, I have been engaged or planning to get married. So it's wild that it's going to be happening in less than a week. And so what we're gathered here to talk about. By the way, welcome to the Church of Doom. If you're new here, my name is Landon, and I just talk about cool role-playing game ideas that I have or whatever fun things are going on in my hobby right now. And so today I wanted to hear from you all a little bit about what I should expect, what I can do to be the best possible husband. You know how we're always swapping GM tips? Well, I would love to hear some of your fathering, parenting, husband tips, all of those things, because I'm also turning 30, not this year, but next year. I turn 29 in October, so I am like a third of the way through. And I would love to hear kind of what some of our elders here in the congregation have been doing. But then also today, we can talk about D&D stuff, obviously. If you guys have things going on in your campaigns, or not even in your campaigns, if you're just like getting into painting and you've got questions about that, or if you are trying to do a solo campaign, even though I've never done one, but I might be able to help you get some ideas going for the solo campaign. So whatever you guys want to talk about with D&D stuff today or RPG stuff today, fire it away in the comments or in the chat, and we'll have a good time today. But let me welcome who's hanging out with us this morning. Also, did I just bump? Oh, wow, I bet the gain is way too high on that. That should hopefully be better. But Grimlord, what's up? Your advice? Keep it grim and keep it wholesome. Classic advice from the Grimlord, just classic. Dude, I hope things have been going well with your channel. Dude, wedding planning is insane. If we're not working or wedding planning, we are just rotting in front of the TV, letting our minds relax. So I haven't been following my YouTube channels as much as I would like to. So Grimlore, if you've been posting some new stuff, you'll have to update us. Samuel, what's going on with you? With kids, don't be afraid to show or play mature stuff. They're a lot smarter than you think and love horror, sci-fi, dark fantasy movies and games. I agree with you 100% that kids are a lot smarter than you think they are. My little niece, who Aaron and I are obsessed with, and actually just hopefully we're having a movie night with her in like 3 weeks or something. She's like almost 2, and she is way smarter than a lot of people I think give her credit for. I think people think just little kids are dumb and like they need to, like they obviously need to be taught things. But I think you're just hitting it right on the head. Kids are as I was gonna say kids are as mature as you treat them, but that's not always necessarily true. But if you talk to kids, if you treat them with respect and how you would at least a little bit of an adult, I find they're way more, not only better behaved, but they also just like being around you more often. My little niece is obsessed with me and Aaron because when she comes over, like we'll come down here and I let her draw whatever she wants to draw on the paper, and I'll ask her questions about what she's drawing, even though she can't answer me at all. She has she's just starting to kind of explore her words. She still is she'll like look at me and like she kind of looks around like she's thinking about the question I asked her, and she's thinking about what she's drawing even though she has no idea what she's drawing, and that's just awesome. And I can't wait to do that kind of thing with my own kids and my niece with D&D. Like when they're at an age where they can start to, basically as soon as my kids are at an age where they can have some sort of conversation, I'm going to be not introducing them to D&D like it's like this like I expect them to play D&D, but more just like role-playing games, like the idea of creative make-believe, are you gonna be a knight today? I'll be the dragon, I'm gonna chase you around the house. Like that kind of stuff seems so fun. That just reminded me, one of my favorite games that I played growing up with my dad was, when we were in Arizona. I was probably seven-ish, I think. The Lord of the Rings movies were still coming out in theaters, and I was still like just mind blown by them. And so we would play this game where me and Tanner, who's my brother, we would be Frodo and Sam. We would run around our house with all the lights turned off, and we'd have our little plastic Lord of the Rings swords, and my dad would be Shelob. and he would hide either like up in the it was a one-story house because it was in Arizona, so people didn't really have like upper levels like they do here in Utah. But he would like hide up on the fridge, and then when we'd come walking around into the kitchen, he'd jump down and he'd scare us, and that stuff was always way fun. So I can't wait to get to do stuff like that with my own family. But what about the rest of y'all? I'm curious, who in our congregation has a family? Who's married and who has kids, and who, like, what? I'm just so curious what kind of all of our lives look like. Obviously, you don't have to get into super personal details, but I figure we're all sort of friends here, kind of now. I just invited people on the internet to be my friend. What am I doing? Samuel also said, I've shown to my nephew Alien when he was 3. Whoa! And his father showed him Predator when he was 4. Now he's 8 and he can't stop asking me to purge Xenos and Heretics with him on board in war games. Hey, dude, you know what? If he likes it, he likes it, I guess, right? That's so funny. I'm like being so torn right now of, I was wanting to watch crazy, I wanted to watch movies that were scary and had monsters when I was a little kid, and my parents wouldn't let me. Sometimes, but they let me watch a few of them. I remember I saw Alien versus Predator. That was one of the first kind of like monster movies, I think, that sort of spooked me a little bit. I Am Legend was also one that I saw that spooked me a little bit. And it was fun to get to go see them, but I don't want to traumatize my kid. I wouldn't take him to that in the theater, for sure. Actually, honestly, I don't even like going to the movie theaters that much anymore. Going to the movie theaters kind of... I don't. I feel like ever since COVID, movie theaters have not been the same. Yeah, I feel like they're always weirdly empty, and there's just not a lot of enthusiasm about it and stuff. So most of the time, we're just watching movies at home now. So I might throw on I don't know. I might throw Alien on for some of the parts, but I don't know. Samuel, that's a hot take, I would say. Sam, I also said the nerddom is powerful in the family. Yeah, nerddom is powerful in my family big time. Big time. All me and my brother did growing up was nerdy stuff. My brother's not so much of a nerd now. He's been in the chat and hung out with us before. You guys have met him. His name's Tanner. He's a jazz drummer in New Orleans, which is super cool. But he still runs D&D for like his friends when he can. Their musician schedule is so crazy and all over the place that it's hard for them to have like a regular game or anything, but he's running campaigns, and he liked Lord of the Rings and all that kind of stuff growing up, and he likes when I would run D&D, he'd always play in the games and stuff, so that was cool. What else is going on? Let's see. What's up, Torton Woodworking? Word up. Dude, how'd your booths go over the summer and stuff? I'd imagine, well, no, it's still fall, so you still probably have a couple more markets and stuff you're doing with your shop, but I hope things have been going good for you. Josiah saying congratulations on the wedding in a week. Thanks, Josiah. It's going to be so fun. We're doing karaoke. We're still going to have dancing at the wedding and stuff, but we're going to do a lot more like karaoke. Our friend group, or I guess I should say Aaron's friend group, who has become my friend group a lot. We really enjoy going down to the bars for karaoke here in Salt Lake. We don't really do bar hopping anymore, but we'll go and like belt our lungs out in a karaoke booth. There's like one place you can go to do it here in Salt Lake, and we have so much fun doing it that we rented out a big old karaoke setup, and we're gonna have that, and then people can also like dance and stuff to the music. That's like the whole. We want people to do that, but we're not big dancers, me and Aaron. We're always kind of awkward on the dance floor, so we wanted to just do something that was way more fun for us. All right, let's see what else is going on. Sebastian, be aware of the evil that resides in kids. They are cunning, merciless. They will find your every weakness and use it against you, and they will never, ever stop. Hilarious. Oh, man, I was a pretty well-behaved kid. I'm trying to think of like some of the worst things I did as a kid. What are some of the worst things I did as a kid? Oh, I actually remember one thing I did that I felt really bad about. In Arizona, going back to that was actually where I did a lot of my growing up. My childhood years where you're like just playing outside all the time and all you want to do is play with your toys and things like that. That was definitely Arizona for me. So I think I just have a lot of core memories there. But we had a pool and a hot tub. I don't know why we had a hot tub in Arizona, but we did. And me and Tanner were back there, and we were like rough housing. I think we had family in town, and so I was just being a dumb, shitty little bratty kid. I think just trying to get attention or something. But I dunked my brother's head under the water in our hot tub, And so it sounds, oh, I'm like so embarrassed to say that. So like, that is such a stupid little kid thing to do. Oh, dunk your head. But it gets worse because I dunked his head, and because it was a hot tub and not just a normal pool, there's like a seat. There was like a, I guess it was like stone or ceramic bench, that might be the word for it, that kind of went around the hot tub, and his chin cracked right into the corner of that and split it. I split it pretty good. My dad had to, or my mom, I think, had to like super glue it up or something. I feel really bad talking about this, but that was like one of the worst things I can remember doing as a kid. That just like, why did I do that? There was no reason to do that. But I actually was pretty well behaved. I've seen other very poorly behaved kids. I've been in scouts with them. Hey, Eagle Scout. Oh my gosh, that reminds me. Okay. I thought of the hand sign, or the secret symbol hand sign for the Church of Doom. And it's not this, because that is the Boy Scouts of America, which is kind of where the idea came from. But for the Church of Doom, it is, you just do the same thing, which is you kind of bring your thumb to your pinky finger, and then you put your three remaining middle fingers, I guess, up. But for our symbol, you're going to split them apart ever so slightly. And what this represents are the three spires of the church, which also are like the three urchins of the heavens, and like him, or him, her, and the unblinking prophet, or the mortal, right? The mortal can be the middle finger. That'll be fun. But then, so that's kind of what the spires represent. And then the I guess it's kind of like it represents the eye of Vecna, or the unblinking one, or the eye of the church, right? All of this stuff is kind of getting worked into the lore of my setting. So the symbol, our hand sign, is you're literally kind of like putting up the Church of Doom. Because the Church of Doom symbol, I guess I don't have actually here, give me a sec. I think I can pull it up real quick. Church of Doom, go to my logos, this one, where'd you go? Hold on. There it is. Okay, so this is the kind of the new logo that we've been using, right? So technically the image has 5 spires, but if I had like the physical one in front of me, these are like, if you've ever seen a cathedral, like the old like medieval real ones, they have like the big lines of spires that kind of go down either side that kind of have the arches. So that's actually what those are. So don't count those. Those don't count towards what we're talking about here. So we've got the 3 spires, right? And then the doorway into the church is also symbolic of Vecna's eye, or the unblinking gaze of him or her, or like the church's kind of spies and their gaze sort of thing. So that can be this. That will be our like secret hand sign. So when the Church of Doom inevitably becomes the most well-known giant corporation who controls all of D&D in the world, you can walk into your friendly local game store and you can throw up the sign of the church, and everybody else will greet you as well, and you'll know you're in the company of the congregation. Anyways, what the heck were we talking about? I got way off on a side tangent there. Let me come back to chat and see what the hell we were talking about here. Torton Wordworking says, anniversary's coming up this year, 7 years with 2 kids. Congrats, that's awesome. Life is crazy, but wouldn't change it for the world. I cannot wait for the crazy that you have, though, Torton. Because right now, the craziness that Aaron and Mai's life is right now is, it's like everybody else is crazy. Like, we are still young, and we're still, like, the kids in the family, even though we're, like I said, I'm almost 30. That's weird to say. Wow. Maybe I should, I guess maybe that's not good. We're still the kids of the family. No, we are definitely becoming adults. And actually, wow, this is reminding me of, this is weird. I'm therapizing myself. I remember seeing an article that talked about how, like, was it millennial or was it Gen X? I can't remember, but there was a generation that it was like, I think frankly it was talking about the men of that generation. But either way, I was like, this generation is just like not growing up. And I'm curious, does that resonate with anybody in the chat? Because when I read that, it definitely resonated with me. Not that I'm like this like super, when I like not growing up, I don't think they meant like you're juvenile or just like irresponsible or anything like that. I think it's more like, wow, we're really getting into the weeds of this, guys. What the heck are we even talking about today? But I think they were more meaning like, we are inheriting. Okay, this is what I feel when I think about that article, and it makes me think of inheriting a world that I don't really know what to do with or how to like handle it or save it, really, like I'm almost 30 and I'm like, nothing seems to have gotten better and I don't really know how to make it better. So maybe that's what that meant. And that also, I think, explains why RPGs are so attractive to me and a lot of people, because we can escape into them, escape into that welcoming open door of the church. Notice that there are no doors. It's not a closed door church, folks. We're open to everybody. Oh, if this is system RPG agnostic, you can play whatever you want. But we get called into this hobby that we can just throw ourselves into, mind, body, and spirit, basically, and get lost in it. And that definitely can come with some big downsides, So maybe we all need to just do some reflecting on that, or at least I do, since I just finished my own little mini therapy session. Torden also said, movies at home feels... Oh, wow, this is how far behind we are in chat. We're still talking about the movies. Let's see. What was Sebastian talking about here? Talking about children and intelligence, my nephews cried on command to get sweets or accuse someone, usually me, so they could blackmail them. Yeah, the fake toddler cry, it's so real. But Sebastian said they could usually blackmail and they still didn't know how to speak like bastard monsters. I'm so proud of them. It's like so clever of them. They're like little goblins. They know how to run into a room and just get what they want and not get in trouble for, or get away with it. Like somehow they run out of the room. You're like, what the heck? Like, what? I just had food and now I don't have food, and they have it and I don't know where they went with it. That's kind of what it seems like life is like. Banana422 said, I have no kids of my own, but when my cousin had his 13th birthday, I had to be the zombie in our Nazi Zombies game, live action. Oh my gosh, you played that live action? Wow, what a callback. That's cool. How did you play? How many kids, like, that sounds so fun. Did you have like a way that you were like breaking down the like boards like they did at the windows in the actual game? Because I remember in elementary school we had a similar game. This was before that, the game ever came out. And thankfully there weren't a bunch of kids running around on the playground playing Nazi zombies. That would be concerning. But it was just zombie. And this was in, I think, 4th grade. And we had it was the kind of spongy turf playground with just the metal gymnasium, or like hard plastic or whatever. Probably what a lot of you grew up with on your school playground. But what the game was is everybody but one kid would run up onto the play set, and then the zombie couldn't walk up onto the play set, but they could reach onto it. They had to stay basically feet on the spongy mulch or whatever, and they just had to pull people off of the play set. That's how we played zombies. And if you got pulled off, you then became a zombie. And so over the course of recess, the horde of zombies would get bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually only one kid was like, getting like ripped off of this playground by a couple of kids. That game only lasted, I don't even think it lasted probably like 2 recess sessions. In my head, it was like we played it forever. But I know it eventually got shut down. The recess aides or whatever saw this and were like, no, like, do not do that. You cannot be ripping kids off of a metal or a plastic play set and watching them fall to the ground. And it's all about playing zombies. Like, you can't do that, which I think is pretty lame. But that was a super fun game that we played. So that's cool to hear that you also did it at your birthday parties. Did anybody ever do D&D at a birthday party? I was just never into D&D at a young enough age where I was still doing birthday parties. But I remember I went to at least one where like the kid's dad ran a one-shot for all of us, and God help that man. There were well over 10 of us, and we were I think we had just gone into middle school maybe, so we were at like one of the like peak obnoxious ages for kids. That is the age I'm most afraid of for my own like future family, is middle school sort of age. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this kid. But we were just so obnoxious and loud and disruptive while he was trying to run this one shot for us. And I don't even know how many encounters we made through in it. It was still fun for us, but I'm sure for him, he was like, I'm never doing that again. But I could see it being fun, though, to run D&D as a one shot for a kid's birthday. That could be cool. Oh, here, let me get this. Oh, there we go. Okay, what else is going on in chat? Twisted Mage says, anyone that says kids are innocent has never been bullied. Kids can be ruthless and cruel. Ooh, bullying. Bullying, man, talk about a heavy topic. And one that does have a lot of cross-pollination between family life and D&D and just like nerd hobbies in general. I thankfully, well, I guess I should explain what I mean by the crossover. Like, your family is the people who are supposed to look out for you and protect you and have your back when you do get bullied, right? If you have siblings, if you grew up with siblings in your similar grade or anything, that's kind of what you're taught or what you hope they are. Or when you're out in just the world that is so big and scary, your family's kind of the people who protect you. Just like in D&D, your adventuring party or your adventuring family, as so many groups kind of have come to kind of call them, at least in the game, right? It's a family, it's an adventuring party in the meta conversation of the game, or when we're in game when you're talking to the merchant, but most of the time it's a family. And they also are the ones who protect you and keep you safe and stand up for you. But how often in real life does someone stand up for you versus in D&D, where someone will stand up for you basically any opportunity they get, any chance they have to stand up for you, and whether that be to the bandits who have like surrounded your campsite and are talking shit before they're about to rob you, right? Like your friends are like, don't worry, like we've got your back or something, right? And then it could be all the way to a god. Think about in Critical Role campaign 1, when that campaign ended and the Raven Queen, spoiler alert by the way here for campaign 1, that was forever ago, but when the Raven Queen is coming to take Vax's soul, right? Vax? Or is it Vex? I can't remember. And like, oh fuck, right? He's taking Vax's soul, and then I'm getting the story mixed up. Oh fuck, I can't even remember. I just remember a god comes to take one of the characters' souls, and the other characters kind of like give this god a lot of sass, and not even just sass as in like quirky D&D kind of like sass, but like they like stand up to this god, and even I think try to stop her, not in a full-blown combat, but like someone I think tries to cast a spell or something, and that feels good in the game. It feels good to have people stand up for you, and that's how you form these attachments. And as our world, I think, continues to just get more and more isolated. Ergo, me sitting in my basement all alone with the lights off, talking to a projector and people on the internet, right? Like, as the world continues to get smaller, you want to be able to turn to your family or turn to somebody to stand up for you, because there's so many things in this world that want to make you sad or angry or uncomfortable. And so to try and get to the point here, I can see why I think so many people can turn to RPGs as their makeshift family, right? I am fortunate to have met Aaron and have this be starting this beautiful family. But there was a point in my life where I was incredibly lonely, like so lonely. And I didn't have the like people to stand up for me. And I'm not necessarily talking always about like when you have a bully in your face or whatever. Just when life is hard, you just want people there for you. And I think sadly for a lot of people, the only place they get that is in an RPG. And even what makes it even more sad is it seems like RPGs are becoming less and less popular despite all these new systems coming out. It feels like there's not a lot of excitement about them, except within the hobby. Like, I don't really hear about a lot of other outside people still like really coming into the hobby in flocks and droves, right? And there's also been an uptick in like solo RPG interest. I have that interest. I've talked about it on the channel that I want to explore it more when the wedding's done. And I think that that's because people are just becoming increasingly lonely and don't have any group to play with at all. And so I hope that through the church we can kind of be each other's family, right? Be each other's adventuring party or group, and we can even if we're not even if the future of the D&D hobby isn't like playing your hobby. I'm not saying I guess I said the hobby, but I'm talking about if your future of the hobby or my future isn't even playing D&D, if it's just world building or if it's just miniature painting, then like that is still D&D in my mind, and I think that's awesome. And I think we can all like really help each other enjoy it in as many ways as possible. But because I got so distracted there, I want to come back to the point of the bullying thing. I'm curious, like, did anybody like what kind of bullying are kids experiencing nowadays? I know that seems like a very specific question to ask, but the thing that as I'm kind of going on 30 and I'm realizing like, oh, I'm going to start having my own kids and they're going to go off to school. I'm thinking like the bullying that I frankly didn't experience a lot of bullying, thankfully, but the bullying that we might have experienced is not going to be the same that future generations experience. And so if we want to be the welcoming family or the welcoming cult for the future generation of RPG players, we need to be able to comfort them. Or not comfort them, that's the wrong word for it. We need to be able to help them develop emotional intelligence and be able to have relationships with other people so that they can form their own groups so they can play these games, right? And I think just a lot of us are kind of lacking those skills. If you can't already tell, I've been watching a lot of Dr. K, or Healthy Gamer, here on YouTube, and I really like a lot of his messaging, and I think a lot of it can be, his whole channel. If you probably already are familiar with Healthy Gamer, honestly. If you're a nerd and you're on YouTube, you've probably watched at least one of his videos. If you haven't, go check him out. He's this awesome, like, therapist. He's a therapist, psychiatrist, doctor who really just, like, targets an audience of young men, which is frankly a lot of us who are watching this, or just men in general, and it's so helpful. And I think there's a lot of value to be plucked out of his channel to build up parts of your RPG hobby, or this is at least for me, to build up parts of my RPG hobby that have been missing for a long time, the social parts of the hobby. I was still meeting with my group through COVID for a little bit, like my small group. It was like my best friend, one of my childhood friends, and I think my brother. We still would just meet up every week to get at least a little bit of our gaming in, but eventually that group has died or become super spotty. And so I don't really have my like social interaction, I have not had my social group for a couple of years, and it's rough. I'm starting to feel the impact. So like, what are you all doing to find that third space, right? Or to build your hobby group back up? What have you all been doing? How are you finding success with that? What does your hobby look like 4 years post-COVID? Because Frank, it's interesting. I haven't really seen any videos talking about like what D&D and like how COVID has impacted D&D post, right? Like almost like a retrospective sort of insight on it. I feel like that would be something I'd love to see from Professor Dungeon Master, with his just analytical mind, and a lot of his videos are so in the like culture of the business of D&D too. He reports on Wizards of the Coast all the time. I'm surprised we don't hear more from him. All right, let's come back to chat. Let's see what we got going on. Samuel said to kids, just be firm but just. My mother was an my mother was an authoritarian bitch. I just ran out of home the moment I got a job and never spoke to her. Oh my god, dude. Whoa. Seriously, my active rebellion youth was don't drink, don't smoke, find a job, and be nice to kids. Thanks, Mom. You've been useful in a distorted way. Samuel, dude, I'm sorry you went through that. That's shit. That sucks. And thankfully, I love my mom. Like any person ever in the world, everybody has their flaws. I've got my flaws, and nobody's mom is perfect. But I'm glad that you at least are mature enough to be able to thank her. Right? I think that shows that you're not living too much in the past and what she has done to you. You are looking ahead. You are looking to the future, and it seems like you did that. You figured that out a while ago. So, right on, Samuel. Hell yeah. Twice Dead Mage says, I got good parents. They loved me, and even when we were in rough economic spot, I never went hungry. The most important lesson they taught me is keeping my life small. Oh, dude, life small. Yes, man. Well, first, I'm happy that you've got a good family. That's great. My family was amazing, and is amazing still. Like, the amount of work and sacrifice they've made just to make our wedding be amazing is, like, it's just ridiculous. But like what really stood out to me, right? Like making your life small. Yeah, that resonates with me. Me and Aaron right now are talking so much about how do we get like garden? How do we start our own garden in the backyard? And when we have our own house, like we're still in a duplex, so there's only so much we can do. But when we have our own house, like, do we want to maybe have like our own little chicken coop, like, and have our own chickens and have the eggs, and then we have our garden for our vegetables and have a little fruit tree. That's one cool thing in our duplex. We've got an apple tree, and I think it's like a cherry tree or something. But being able to build a life for ourselves, here. Let me tie it into D&D and a small life. We kind of almost seem to envision a life that is a D&D Hamlet that is free from orc raids. We want to live in a nice, quaint, cozy house with our kids who eat good food and they're very artistic and creative, and we play D&D, or we do whatever creative outlet they want. If it's pottery, if it's drawing, it's whatever. Like, we engage with that, and that's like what we want. I think this is reminding me, I said on an earlier stream, like, I really love the halflings. Even though, like, I play humans, like, in my RPG, if I were to play a game, I like to be a human, and I also like human-centric worlds, but I just relate to halflings so much. That's all we want. That is all we want. We don't want to be running around frantically doing errands and running to all these different, like, I was going to say, like, extracurricular activities. It's not that I don't want my kid in extracurricular activities. It's just that, like, I don't want to push them into so many, or I don't want them to feel like they have to be in so many that they can't just enjoy one to the fullest extent. If you just really want to throw yourself into one thing, that is fine. You don't have to do a million things. And thankfully, I think the growing realization that you don't need to go to college to succeed or to find happy success in this world, I think means a lot of people are now, like, when you realize you don't need to go to college, and this is how I felt, I'm kind of speaking from my own experience here, when I realized, well, this is silly to say because I did go to college. What I more mean is when I was coming out of college and realizing, oh, I don't know if that was necessarily worth it. I am so sorry, Mom and Dad, if you're watching this right now. It was worth it in so many different ways, but, like, the actual, like, education part, I was like, I don't know if this was necessarily worth it. And so thankfully a lot of people are realizing that before they get into school, and so they're kind of needing to, like, look elsewhere to find fulfillment or a path. And the halfling wholesome life, I think, is a perfect path to pursue. And I am very excited to continue pursuing it with my future wife. That's going to be great. Let's go. Let's see. What else is people saying here? And Samael and Twisted Mage, real quick, just because I saw your messages as I was getting caught back up. Thank you for being vulnerable, and thank you for sharing. I am really feeling a sense of clarity about the Church of Doom and this channel and just this whole, like, job that I'm kind of trying to make for myself, right? I'm getting a sense of clarity of what that's going to look like after the wedding. And part of that is going to be, wrapping up Monster Psalms, which I've been working very hard on. Maybe I can, if I open up InDesign, it tends to cause my streaming software to get really buggy. So I might not risk it, but I've been just, like, putting in work on Monster Psalms, trying to get that thing done and hopefully, ideally, shipped end of October. Like, have that project book closed end of October is kind of my goal right now. But yeah, I just want to, after the wedding and after I finish the book, slow things down. I want to slow everything down, which I've already been doing in a huge major way. You probably have already noticed. My most recent video went out like a week ago. I haven't really been putting out a lot of shorts. I haven't, frankly, been putting out a lot of content outside of Patreon. I still post there multiple times a week with updates of what I've been doing and new releases, like all of the Monster Psalms spreads for each monster as I'm kind of checking them off. They're getting put on Patreon. So that's still where I'm updating a lot of people. But this is way more, I think, my vibe and what I'm wanting to see from the church is just going back to the roots of let's just jump on stream for an hour or so and just talk about whatever. I don't need to show up with this super rehearsed, well, not even rehearsed, this super, like, outlined, frantic list of ideas to get through. And not every video has to be like this crazy, mind-blowing realization within the hobby, which honestly, how many of my past videos even have been, right? Like, I've been trying so hard. I was trying tirelessly to make the coolest, best thing, when really, like, I feel now like, oh, I should just slow down and just like the halflings, just like the shirelings, You got to grow the garden. You got to tend the garden. If every day you're running out and you're running through your garden, you're pulling up weeds so frantically that you're accidentally ripping up the carrots and you're smashing everything and you're leaving the gate open because you're running out in a hurry and the rabbits get in and eat all of the dire rabbit gets in, or the giant boar comes in and smashes the whole garden, right? Is that the giant boar's fault, or is that your fault for just not being in the spirit of the Shire? Slow down. Just enjoy the process, right? Enjoy watching the garden grow is another way I think that's a saying I imagine halflings would have. Enjoy watching the garden grow. The point of having a garden is not to get it to that perfect, take that picture and everything's blooming, because that's going to happen, right? Flowers are going to bloom when you're not even home and you're going to miss it. I know I'm getting really specifically weird in this metaphor here, but it's very important, I think, for a lot of us to hear right now that it's time to, well, I don't want to say it's time to. That sounds very cringy. What am I trying to say right now? I think I'm trying to say that I invite you to join me on this. I invite you to join me on a conscious mortal effort to slow down and use the things that we've already, the halfling idea of being one with nature. Use what you've got. Use resources in nature. Hey, how about you use all of the D&D models that you've already printed? Huh? How about you don't print your next batch until you at the very least, have cleaned up and glued together your last batch? And then guess what? When you do that, you're going to be like, oh my God, I should use this many in my next encounter. This will be, or my next session. This will be a cool encounter. And then you're going to paint that. And then once you've painted that and you have it at the table, your players are going to be so excited, it's going to reinforce you to keep doing that. But instead, and again, let you know a little secret, I'm just projecting, I'm talking about myself right now. But, if you start doing that, then you're going to stop just doing this endless manufacturing cycle or like production line of printing out minis that are just piling up in plastic totes on a shelf. Bilbo Baggins would be ashamed of me. He would be disgraced, right? Like, that's not why I have a 3D printer and play D&D, is to just print as many minis as I possibly can. That's ridiculous. I noticed chat slowed down, which means I stopped reading your messages and I need to come back off of my crazy side tangent here. Twisted Mage. My life fits in 2 backpacks and 1 big bag because we moved around a lot and we got hit with a big earthquake in 2010. Whoa, wow. Dude, I would have never guessed that. Kids nowadays still suffer with the bullying and always, but now there is 2 fronts: in-person bullying and online bullying. Oh, yeah. Well, Twisted Mage, man, I'm really sorry to get hit with an earthquake and have your entire life thrown so crazily that now it fits into 2 backpacks and 1 big bag. 1 big bag. What? Sorry, that bad joke. If you've watched NADPOD, which I'm guessing Twisted Mage probably has, you tune into so many of my streams. I know you're a D&D fanatic. But I don't know. I get the sense just from your message that you are not even just like, you haven't just accepted what happened to your life. You are making the best of it. Your life fits in 2 backpacks and 1 big bag. Fuck yeah, brother. You're an adventurer. You are living a D&D adventurer's life right now. If you can pack everything up in something that can be carried by a mule, you are in a way an adventurer. Or how about this? You're not quite an adventurer, but you are Bilbo. You are ready to go on an adventure in a moment's notice, even if you don't necessarily want to go on one, right? This is another little, wow, I'm just going to give you a little insight into my head here. For a long time, I had a lot of like internalized guilt or like shame, or I don't necessarily know exactly what the feeling was, but it was like all of my idols, or the things that I'm most interested in, things like D&D, Lord of the Rings, Warhammer 40K, Spider-Man, right? All of my like childhood just like interests were things that were strong and outside and epic and adventurous. And I have always liked sitting in my house. I like being inside and being comfortable and being cozy. And I've just always been a homebody. And I used to, and there is still, I'm not completely over this, but I've gotten better about it. But I used to really like compare myself to my like interests or idols, which is, now that I'm saying it out loud, is like insanely unrealistic and unhealthy, right? When, like, if you look at Bilbo, he was just a dude sitting at home. He didn't even want to go on the adventure. Or did he? Like, I think like he ended up wanting to, right? He answered the call, but he was totally content with his life in his cozy little house. And so if you are like me and you're like, oh, geez, I wish I was more like the ranger character that I play each week. I don't even go outside. I don't even go on hikes. Oh, that's so lame of me. All I do is sit at home and print these really super intricately, beautifully detailed miniatures and paint them to an agonizing amount of detail that I take a lot of pride in. And I put hours of work into this, you know? Can you see in my tone where I'm going with that? Like, that you don't be ashamed in that. Don't be ashamed in the interest and hobbies that you have just because they're not outside. Now, should you get outside and go on a walk? Yes, definitely go do that. But don't feel like you need to be your heroes, be they in D&D or whatever, right? All right, what was next? Drew GB said, I've been trying to introduce short campaigns, 4 to 5 sessions with new and indie game systems. That is a genius idea and something that I have wanted, or I've like thought would be cool to do. I've just never actually like committed to doing it. Maybe that's what I should do with my Morkborg campaigns. Because I've got I've got my Tuesday group that technically started 3 weeks ago, but we've only had one session because it started 2 weeks ago, but the first session 0, of course, like 3 people had to miss day of, which whatever, it's fine. But then session 1, we had some last minute cancellations, and I think it's just I think I started those campaigns at a weird time. I started them like right at the end of summer, like tail end, when people are still doing a bunch of stuff. So I'm not surprised. I was probably myself shooting myself in the foot. But anyways, I'm starting up new campaigns too, and I don't want them to be year-long ordeals. So maybe I should just be like, this thing is going to last 10 sessions. Or this thing's going to last 6, and then it's done. I don't know how to I don't know how I would go about doing that and making sure it ends on that session without it feeling railroady. I think that would be very difficult. But hey, maybe someone's done it and they can give us some tips. Twisted Mage, we strive for the Hobbit lifestyle. Amen. Samael, stereotype time. If you want tips on food, just ask. I cook and experiment in the kitchen. Hey, yeah. Hell yeah, I'm never vulnerable. That's heresy. You're vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable. Okay, let's see. What else we got here? Hey, Serena Higgins. Hey, I haven't seen you in forever, Serena. Congrats on the wedding soon. My current plan is to get my degree, then immigrate to Germany and marry one of my partners. Love is amazing. That is so cool. Awesome, Serena. Very cool. Immigrate to Germany. That would be cool, too. I thought about, like, I didn't necessarily think about, maybe at one point I was like, it'd be cool to live in another country. Maybe I should see like where my family heritage is from in Europe and see if there's any way I could get like citizenship or something. Probably could. I know my grandma was born. I should talk to my aunt. She's been doing a bunch of the like genealogy research and maybe figure out if I do have citizenship somewhere, because that would be really cool. And at some point I would love to do a trip to Europe again and visit maybe some of the cultists. That would be awesome. Take 2 more years, Serena, but plenty of time to learn German. Yeah, hey, download Duolingo. Sebastian, through the chat, survey or figures of hopes for your idols. They can be, survey of your figures of hopes for your idols. They can be real or imaginary people. Maybe, are you asking like who our idols and things were? Is that what you're asking, Sebastian? Like how I was like, oh, it was Spider-Man or Lord of the Rings. Maybe you're asking just chat kind of what theirs were. Yeah, I'd be really curious to know too. And also, I'm probably going to wrap up here in either like the next 15 minutes, or honestly, if the energy kind of slows down here a little bit, we might jump off because, excuse me, we've got plenty of wedding planning to do today. But I wanted to make sure I hopped on and talked to my favorite people. Drew GB said, a suggestion for not making it difficult to run a short campaign, give it a range, like 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 sessions, and less structured. Have a goal and let them direct this. Oh, that's great advice. Thank you, Drew. Okay. If it's nicely when people know it will last a month or 2, easy to commit. Oh yeah, easier to get them to commit. True. Yeah, if you were just like, hey, for the next 2 months, do you want to join my little D&D group? We're gonna every other week have a session. It's gonna be four sessions, 4 to 5, and then it's done. I would be way more down to join that than, do you want to join my D&D campaign? Even that, like, even if I didn't know what D&D was, if I just heard the word campaign, that does kind of sound like a big commitment. Even if in your mind as the GM who's extending the invitation, you only are meaning like, hey, do you want to come play D&D like once a month or something? That might be what you mean, but it might not be what it sounds like. Okay, cool. Other questions? Anything else going on in chat? What are you feeling? Give y'all just a minute here to type anything in there if you got it. But otherwise, I'm feeling pretty dang good. Twisted Mage says the oldest ancestor I can track is Custodio, and his name is from the south of Chile after making enemies with the Mapache. Mapachu? How do you say that? Oh, Mapuche? I don't know how to say that one. I'm sorry. But that was like 4 generations ago. That's cool. Yeah, now I'm very curious to know. I know my aunt has been like obsessed with it. She's got books and books that she's been filling with notes, and she's like gone and visited family members and stayed at their like homes over in Europe and stuff. It's really cool. So I'd be curious to know more. But yeah, it looks like chat's slowing down. And like I said, I got a million things I can do over the next week. So brothers and sisters, this might be the last time you hear from me, at least on stream, for like the next 2 weeks or so. Because I'll definitely be having wedding things next Saturday, and then the weekend after, probably still going to be on like some sort of little mini honeymoon or some sort of retreat with Aaron. We did do our big Europe trip earlier this year over the summer. So that was kind of our early honeymoon. So we're not exactly sure if we even want to go anywhere. So who knows? Maybe you'll see me again real soon because we're both just so excited to get married and we want to throw ourselves back into our lives. Or maybe we're going to become reclusive hermits for 2 or 3 weeks. No idea, but very excited to see what the next chapter brings and share it with all of you. So thank you all for hanging out with me today. Love y'all. And we say these things in their unholy names. Amen. Bye-bye, folks.